You know, you could have called me last month.
There we go.
There you go.
All right, it's working. If it
I was
does,
just gonna check that, yeah.
yeah.
It's faster than mine.
Hi.
Go ahead, get it over.
No.
Hey, Doug will be in just a moment.
How are you
You
doing,
got
Jill?
stuff bringing me.
How are you doing, Jill?
Great. Can you tell?
Well. Here, Jill, sit here.
Chasing cows.
Maybe a month ago. Ouch. Well, you know, like cattle life, it's an adventure. Sit there. No, I'll go.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it's better for my leg to stick out the end. Thank you, though. This is adjusting anyway. Shake your head.
I know you're lying.
You need an extra chair for your leg.
Shake his leg.
You hear it now?
Yes.
Oh, because I'm on August 14th, this is September. That might make a difference. Oh my gosh, maybe, this is mentioned. Who was it that said to me today? Who knows? Because I'm doing taxes and they said, well, there is only 4 months left, and I was like, oh my gosh, there is. Wow.
How does she still bake? Jill, how does she still bake?
Oh, it's easy, because you just have to stand to bake. Dude.
No matter where you're at, you're shutting down the camera because it does.
What if it's some makeup?
Oh, okay, let me grab my stand.
I'm taking credit for
Right,
Jill.
time to grab my stand.
Doug, that was very nice
I'm
of
just
you to
seeing
do
it.
that.
Poor Belle.
I didn't even know where the rest of the board would have.
Yeah, seen her.
Manned up.
Night,
If the rest of the board would have manned up and did it like you said. Everybody would take turns.
This is really my month, this really.
Oh,
Last one wasn't. This one. I think I covered it, so I was thinking it.
I don't
I don't even know where we are in the
Okay, it's 6:30.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead and get started. Stacy, would you do the roll call, please?
Colin,
Here.
Dealman,
Here.
Kinsley, Hornberg,
Here.
Jackson,
Here.
Stonewall. Here. Robert.
Yes.
Okay. First, we need to approve our agenda.
Before we approve the agenda, so, the person that takes care of the payables now, she had, well, there was quite a few, invoices that didn't have requisitions for them. So she reached out to them on Friday and many of them came in today and there were some significant amounts, so like Martin Brothers, our milk and stuff like that. So I would like to, she went ahead and processed them, so I would like to add that to the agenda today. I sent it out to you guys an email just a little bit ago because she just finished them up, but I can get it posted on there.
Anyone like to make a motion to approve with the addition?
I'll move to approve the agenda with the addition.
Thanks, Justin. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Doug. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, we have the minutes of our previous meeting. Anyone like to make a motion to approve over their corrections?
I'm sorry.
You're getting there, you're fine.
I'm sorry, Ian, who was it that made the motion in second? Sorry, I was trying to get those
Justin
attached.
and
Justin and Doug.
I didn't see anything. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Thanks, Doug.
I'll second.
Thanks, Jill. Right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. On to the bills.
One thing I noticed is we paid for the cross-country meet in Marshalltown and we did not go to that. I don't know.
Mr. Gargus? Do you know about, I don't know about that. Do you know about that?
Cause that was the night they went up to Port City,
Okay.
We could go about check.
so I don't know, yeah, if you
I'll
get
check
money
on that.
back or how that.
The checks haven't been sent off yet, so.
Oh, yeah, what's that? Well, was that for last month? Oh, here it is, 998, Marshtown High School, 98.
Last month.
Oh, these are? Oh,
Is there a different set that should be on the agenda?
I don't think so, no.
this is August 11th. Well, anyway,
How far down are you?
it's that first page.
Maybe I attached the wrong ones. Hold on.
I lost it now.
Yeah, hold on, let me attach the correct one. That would make a difference.
I noticed the football tees were back again.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get to the right one.
Okay.
Oh, this was on page 2 of the last.
You don't want to pay them again? Make sure I'm on the right meeting.
Can we move on and come back?
There, now.
You have to refresh them.
Probably, yes.
Did you get it?
No, it's the same.
I understand.
It's the same, it's on the, so, and I refreshed it.
Okay. I should look.
For number one, I'm showing September 9th.
Maybe refresh it again.
Try one more time.
Because you should have a number 2 on
Yeah.
there.
Start over.
Oh, you want to know why? Because it's in PDF?
Do you wanna email them?
I
Do
can't.
you wanna?
That's gonna be complicated.
I think so.
Mhm. Did you get in your email?
Hmm?
Did you get it?
No, I'm
Okay.
looking at the one she sent out today.
I'm getting there. It's kind of funny.
$10,000 in food.
Kids are hungry.
I must have missed it already. So it's short. Is it short?
What's your?
This is not the.
No, these are the ones,
This
no.
is, these are the
These are
additional.
just the additionals. that we voted
That
on.
new that you just talked about?
Yes.
Mhm. It's odd.
Oh, it is odd.
Really
Yeah,
is.
these are two separate ones.
I don't know.
No, it's not that.
Haven't run it.
Do you want us to move on, Stacy, to come back?
It's there. I just wanna make
Okay.
sure I gave you guys both, since there's two of them, I wanna make sure that I have it correct and I have the two separate ones and not the same one. So there you go.
I'm gonna like hand them across the table.
Like when you're closer together, it takes forever to send. No, this one? No.
What?
Are you
I'm
seeing
still-
two different ones?
No, I'm looking at the, they're getting hungry.
Did I attach the same ones after I went through and was like, hey, I really wanna make sure I got this
And
stuff.
they both said $10,000 in food, so,
Just like-
Oh, no subject, okay.
all right?
two different ones, yes, we're good.
There, okay, good. I'm like, I really was trying to check that to make sure I
Dan,
did
tell
the
me
two.
something on one that doesn't have $10,000 in food, because I'm seeing the same.
Workbooks and license presentation is the top one of the second.
Yep.
Workbooks. Oh, I'll just leave it on
The gas and electric can't get any higher. $1,700 was last month.
Did we get pianos then for the music room? Did we get new ones?
Yeah, they're on order. I think they're supposed to be coming here
Yeah,
pretty quickly, aren't
electronic ones.
they? Yeah.
We already have them.
Yeah.
Wait, they are here? Two of them? I was gonna say, I knew they were coming soon.
Yeah, we
so-
already have put together and we've been using them, so. Yep.
What's the refrigeration service on over at the high school, Jimmy?
Yeah, that's one of the big freezers out back that stopped working.
Oh. we got one included. Do they need another one?
I don't think we could fit another one.
What are snow fence batteries?
I'm sorry,
What are snow fence batteries?
that's, that they did up here. I think it's snow fence and batteries, so it's not snow fence
Okay.
batteries, I think it's snow
Yeah,
fence
snow fence, too.
batteries.
Sounds kinda
So,
cool. I don't know what
we
it
put
is.
snow fence around the, external, air conditioner because we felt like we needed to blockade that for our own safety and insurance purposes. And so we didn't have any, and so we had to get that. And then I believe there was batteries that we had a few, of our, what do I wanna call them, our, lights for our, fire that had to be changed for, meeting inspection. Once we take a motion to approve,
Make a motion to approve monthly bills.
thanks Justin, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks Jackie, any more discussion? If it's all in favor, say aye. Aye. Unopposed, same. Okay, welcome visitors. Ashley, you're up.
Hi, back for some clarification. Email stating from a board member, at the last meeting, Ashley Mathern said after the meeting, she had been reading emails. The other board member says that comment was concerning to me as well. Additionally, superintendent, if you feel the board is treating you unfairly, as Mrs. Mathern suggested, I would hope that you would speak to us directly about it and not talk to community members, which seems to be what has been happening from Mrs. Mathern's comments. To clarify, I'm not talking to any of our administration about how they're being treated or how they even feel. I am basing my opinion on emails. This statement right here is based on assumption, and it's very accusatory. It's not professional, it's not respectful. A respectful response would be, hey, superintendent, are you feeling supported by the board? If not, how can we be more supportive? Additionally, I was not only speaking of our superintendent. If we undermine the superintendent, we're undermining the whole administrative team. A couple more examples of not supporting our administration would be, man, I'm this up here today. A parent emails a board member with a complaint, and instead of being directed the correct route, we have a chain of command in our policies for a reason, because we hire administration to run our district. Policy states the school board's not supposed to run the school. In this email, this parent has a complaint, and the response to this email was, thank you for sharing this with me. It sounds like your child and family were rightfully upset. That right there is not supportive of our administration team whatsoever, and it's a huge liability. It's a huge liability. The correct response would be, let me talk to my administration and have them get back to you. The other email, where I'm talking about undermining our team, is an unhappy teacher. And the reply she was given was, let's see. I appreciate your support for the district and willingness to teach and mentor even in less than ideal circumstances. These are replies from the board. Now, if we're siding with the teacher with her feelings and saying in less than ideal circumstances, you're promoting strife and division. And again, not following the proper chains of authority.
That's the timer, sorry. You too. Thanks. All right. Progressive.
Scared me.
Sorry.
And I was like,
Do I need to call?
Sorry.
When I heard that.
Sorry.
Nope.
YouTube, 3-minute timer. All right, reports. So we have 2 resignations, 2 hires. Should that be under personnel? Not reports. Either way. Need a motion to approve our personnel.
I'll make a motion to approve the resignation and the hiring.
Thanks, Doug. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, David. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Can we ask
Sure.
about anything about the
Absolutely.
paraprofessionals?
Go for it.
All right,
About building,
both in the secondary. And, yeah, the first one is a GMG graduate, and I'm sure it was in your class. And, then the second one is a GMG parent. So, then I taught one of that person's, graduates. At any rate, gonna be a good addition. The first one has already, actually been working in the building. Second one, we're just waiting on background check to clear. And, that person has experience in the past as, even working with level 3, special ed students. So pretty extensive experience there. And then that will put us at the pairs that we need for the secondary, so. I didn't even say names this time.
we're getting there.
Okay, anyone want to make a motion for these?
Motion on the second.
Oh, I'm sorry, it was Doug and David, sorry. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, thank you, sorry about that. Are there any committee reports?
I've got nothing.
Nothing.
Is this the place where, we were asked to describe what our
Mhm.
committee did? I haven't been in this
Describe it
PDF,
for us, kinda.
so they all got described. There, the last time I read it,
Well, we didn't have a vocational, yeah, we didn't describe ours.
Self-explanatory.
Mhm. Okay, no reports, so we'll move on to finances. Stacy, what do you got?
So a couple of things to report on finances. Our, CD came up for renewal, this month, I guess, or no, last month in the end of August. So, and it has never been questioned on how much we were getting percentage on that. So I reached out to the bank and have renewed the CD now for 5%. And we will stay at that. We were at 0.85%. So we're now getting 5% on that. And then also I reached out to the bank because there are other areas, state funding, where we can put our funds into a state bank and earn the 5%. So I reached out to LSB, who is our bank, and just said, hey, we've got a lot of money with you guys. We've been with you for a long time. We do everything with you. So we negotiated that we will now be getting 3% on all our checking accounts in there too. So, and we also have an advisor that is set up for us. So they will periodically look at that. So if the interest rate goes up, then we will negotiate a new price, or not for the CD, but for the regular
How
accounts.
long's the CD for?
Year.
Year?
Yeah. So, and then, that was a big win. So we can help get some finances in there. I think that was it. Yeah, I think that was it. Oh, and then I did send your email, so sorry, along with that. So in preparation for the state report, this time, our expenditures in athletics, way over exceeded what, we brought in or what we had in there. So, I had to transfer I think it was 22,000 some change from the general account into the athletics department to cover that. And the way that I did that was officials can be paid through the general account. And so what we paid the officials last year out of the activity account is what I transferred from the general account. So basically we paid those out of there. So, I had to do that. So I think that's it.
Thank you. Any questions for Stacy? You ready to go on? Everybody's looking really serious on it. I'm gonna move on before you're digested. Okay, good. We're on to administrative reports. Elementary principal.
So I am here to share with you, the ISAF's data. And so what I have done is compiled on here, I broke it down from 3rd grade to 6th grade. 3rd grade is always the first year of the testing. So I'm sharing the 2023 results for English language arts and the math proficiency. And then I'm comparing that to what the state percentage was. And then once I go 4th through 6th grade, I will compare what their scores were in 2022 to 2023. So we can kind of, look at that and evaluate that as well. So our 3rd graders in English language arts scored 54% and their math proficiency was 75%. And then the state proficiency rate for English language arts was 66% and their math proficiency was at 76. So we, obviously didn't meet the English language arts proficiency compared to the state. We were 1% away from the math proficiency in 3rd grade. 4th grade in 2022, our English language arts proficiency was 44% and our math was 41%. And when I do proficiency, let me tell you, I'm doing proficiency in anybody who's advanced proficient because they would be considered proficient. So I just added those percentages together, if that makes sense.
So, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
the advanced band and the proficient. band.
Yeah, I
Got it,
added
okay.
that together. Yep. And then in 4th grade in 2023, our English language arts was at 66%, so a 22% increase. And then it went to 74% in math proficiency. So we went from 41% to 74%. The state percentage for 4th grade, and for both English language arts and math proficiency, I double checked that, it was both 73%. So we were below it in English language arts, but we were above it by 1% in math. And then in 5th grade, I will share the English language arts, the math, but then I will also share science because they're the 1 grade level that does that as well. So in 2022, our 5th graders in English language arts scored 52%, in math, 31%, in science, it was 54%. And then in 2023, the English language arts proficiency was 57%, math was 32%, and science was 41%. So we went up in English language arts, we went up in the math by just 1%, but we went down in the science. And the state percentage for 5th grade was 69% for English language arts, 71% for math, and science was 63%. So for me, that was pretty alarming. We were so far discrepant in the math at 32%, and the state average was 71. So what is it that we really need to hone in and focus in on that to help increase that percentage? So yeah, sure, we went up, but not significant enough. And then in 6th grade, the English language arts in 2022 was 63%, math was 44%. In 2023, it was 51% in English language arts and 37% in math. State average state percentage for 2023 was 73 in English language arts and 70% in math. So really that 5th and 6th grade was, for me, had some concerns with dropping from one year to the next. And definitely, especially in that math area, trying to figure out what are the components that are difficult? Is it that we need to adjust when we might teach some core pieces of the illustrative math in order to make sure that we've set our kids up for success when it comes to taking the ISASP? And so that'll be some of the pieces of the work that we'll do as a staff when we're breaking that down to see where those discrepant areas are so that we can do better for this school year. I'm really honing in on that. So
Clearly, we could see that, that was.
I know, yes, I can't,
I mean, not today, but
yes,
at some point.
Yeah, sure.
We could have access to
Absolutely.
digest that a little bit. So,
Yeah.
in the area of math,
And some grade levels were
great.
good and others not.
So there's like 5 areas. You have to be able to understand geometry, you have to be able to understand basic numbers, you have to be able to do maybe a little bit of statistical probability, reasoning, reading a chart.
Mhm.
Do they break that down for you so that you can say, hey, we did real good in computation, but we really stunk in reading triangles and rectangles?
Yes, we can dig into that to figure out where our strength areas are and where our
Good.
discrepant areas
So they
are.
do provide you with
Mhm.
deeper.
Yes, it won't,
information.
it'll give you that broad band of that, so, I think then we'll have to have more conversations with the grade level teams to go, okay, so, also comparing that to what are we seeing in the classroom, right, because this is one measure, but how is this, are we seeing the same thing that happens within the classroom when we're doing our, unit assessments and different things like that, and, reflecting that? Is this also complementary or completely opposite of fast testing? Or are they telling us the same thing as well? So one of my next steps with this is to also compare that to fast, so that when we have like our SIAC meeting, we can do some crosswalking with that, just to try and, figure out, where we might need, additional professional learning on. We might need to reflect on, our core instruction, and so that way we can make good decisions when we're trying to improve these scores as well, so.
How many years have we had the curricula that we have in both ELA and, because we just did ELA, right?
No, yeah, the English language arts, we are probably on year, let's see, 7 or 8.
Oh, okay.
And then illustrative math is, I want to say this is year 4.
Okay.
So,
Time goes fast.
yeah,
it does.
Seems like yesterday.
yeah, I know, right?
Is it possible to go back more than 1 year? I mean,
What-
maybe it was
It is,
70 and then bonk 30. Oops,
Yes.
Bad year, bad group, something.
yeah,
But
and
if it-
sometimes we have to take that
if it
into
does this,
consideration too, yeah.
That's an even deeper
Yes,
correction.
I have not broke it down to that far, but yes, you can go back and look at that, so, which could be interesting as well to see, so.
And then we do have reports that go break it down by domain as well. So within that category, then it really, hits each area.
And we'll be having conversations about that as that goes on, and I think some of this will also complement our conversation and our work that we have going on with our MTSS professional learning that we're doing as a district, and so connecting this to what we're learning as well as about each one of those multi-tiered systems of support with the core instruction, the intensive, the supplement, so each one of those layers, and making sure that we're our core is solid, and also that we're doing a lot of teaching and understanding about accommodations, modifications. What are those? How are those different? And who's responsible? And essentially all of us are. It doesn't matter what role you play. We are, as educators, we are responsible for each one of those. So we've been doing a lot of professional development on that, and building that, and then bringing that collaboration piece back. So where we meet with grade level teams to reflect on student progress.
Am I right in remembering that, a focus on something for this year was gonna be depth of knowledge?
Yep, and so we've had one, so how I'm doing that this year is, because we have MTSS, we have depth of knowledge, we have new social studies. MTSS has been everybody, and the depth of knowledge, then I collaborate with my instructional coach.
Okay.
And so she led that portion of it with, the 3rd grade through 6th grade just last Wednesday. So I could do the collaboration piece with K2, because that's very complimentary of the work that I've been leading with the MTSS process. So then, not this Wednesday, but the next Wednesday, K2 will have that same learning of depth of knowledge, where I will collaborate with my 3-6 with the same conversations that I had with K2.
Okay.
So that's how I set that up. But we're also tying that learning into depth of knowledge into the MTSS, so that it's not all in isolation, but they're seeing the connection between the two, because depth of knowledge does impact MTSS. So, and then us reflecting on the collaboration piece as a team, to do what's best for kids at all levels, no matter what they're excelling or not excelling at, but what are we putting into place, and being really reflective of that. And what are the resources and the supports that need to be in place? So, yeah. Thank you. Great questions.
Anything else? Okay.
All right, secondary was one of the things that I would look at with this, and you mentioned the year to year. When you look at this, seventh graders in 2022 became the eighth graders in 2023. So as I'm looking at the numbers and how those numbers are going through, that's where you start to see a lot more stability in the overall numbers that they're showing. Some of them did make a huge growth though. Seventh graders in 2022 were at 63% for their language arts proficiency, but then in 2023, those eighth graders, that same class, were up to 82% in proficiency. So very big growth there. The seventh graders in 2023 were 83%. So they were already kind of high achieving at that point anyway, and they don't have their previous data just from between the two buildings. Eighth graders, 2022, they were at 79%. 2023, they were at 74%, so fairly level with each other that year to year. Let's see, ninth graders in 2022 were 85%. 2023, 86%, slight bit of growth there. 10th graders in 2022, they were at 85, and 2023, they were at 86. So again, a little bit of growth there. And then 10th graders in 2022 were 87. In 11th grade, they were at 78. So, and in each of those cases, we beat the state in every single category for English language arts, except for that one outlier, the 63% in 2022 was below the state. But beyond that, everything has been well above. The state in 23 was 74%. We had 83% in seventh grade. It was 76%. We had 82 in eighth grade. 70% was.
Wait, have you switched to math?
No,
Are you
not
still
yet.
talking English?
Still talking English, yes.
When you said that 63 was a low,
That was the
Below the
low for
state.
English language arts.
what was the state?
The state was 74 that year.
Okay.
So, but it's also the group that grew 20% between school years,
Gotcha.
so.
Thank you.
Then we get to math. With math, what I was in particular looking for with that, because we know math was our really weak area at the secondary. So growth is what I was really looking for, and that was definitely shown. We're still below the state in almost every grade except for 10th and 11th grade. We're sitting on par with the state, but our lower grades, we made considerable growth. 22 for math proficiency was at 40%. 23, it was at 57%. The state was at 68. So still below the state, but a considerable growth there. Eighth grade, 63% in 2022. Now, this is where the year-to-year comes into play. Excuse me, because 2022, those seventh graders were at 40%. 2023, those now eighth graders were at 43%. Their science also bears that out, because their science was also relatively low at 49%, which is not a common occurrence for us. So that particular class, it seems like we've got some really challenging students in that bunch that we're going to need to hone in on with that. As far as the rest of math, for eighth grade, let's see, 2023 was at 43%. So that was one, again, that class that didn't show a lot of growth because the state was 72. Ninth grade, 47% in 2022, 52% in 2023. And then the state was 61% in 2023. 10th grade, 46% in 22, 65% in 23. The state was 66. So we're almost right there. And then last but not least, 11th grade, we were at 48% in 22, 67% in 23. The state was at 67% in 23. So we met the state there. And then science-wise, 2022 for 8th graders, they were at 68%, 23 was 49%, the state was 66. And then for 10th graders, 66% in 22, 64% in 23, state was at 62%, so we exceeded the state for that one. So all in all, and again, once we do that, then you'll see my color-coded sheet with that and be able to see how those bear up. Any questions on those before I hit just quick high points of stuff that's going on secondary wise?
Before you test, did you have the kids set goals based on their last year's scores and where they want to be at?
Not at that point, no, we didn't. It was a matter of, at that point, partially me learning the system too. So, yeah, now that I'm really learning how to drill down on the data, those are things we're looking at. Within our professional learning communities, one of the things that we're doing now for our depth of knowledge is first we talked about it as a group, and we did during our professional development day and looking at that. Then we broke it down to our subject areas so that each PLC is able to talk with each other. Obviously the secondary, we're a different animal that way because we go to subject areas. So now what we're doing is our instructional coach meets with all the PLCs on their first meeting of the month, either on a Tuesday or a Thursday. And she's already sat down with each of them and they're setting goals for themselves for that month. Then I sit down with them on the fourth meeting of the month or the fourth week of the month. And then we review what kind of progress we made on those goals during the month. So we have a nice back and forth there. That way, Mrs. Barnes can be looking at the beginning, I'm looking at the end. And then we also compare notes because she and I meet once a week. As well as MTSS, and I'm meeting once a week too. So we're starting to get a nice flow together with that one. So.
When you send this, can you put for each class how many percentiles each student is? Do you know what I mean? Like if we moved up one kid, then we'd have 75% proficient instead of 70%.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it. Yeah, you're right. It is about 3% per student.
So when you're down 6%, that's 2 kids.
Right.
Two kids had an off day, they had a goal.
Yeah.
You can't, you have to take that into account.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're not meeting the state standards, how does that affect us then long term?
Well, like I say, the big thing that we're looking at right now is the growth because that, and math in particular was really showing where we had the year of one math teacher and then getting the new curriculum. But even just within a year of getting new curriculum, we showed growth in 4 out of the 6 grades. So that was definitely a positive sign. And the more that the teachers are getting familiar with the Savas curriculum, I think the better it's just going to bear out. And we've got some really neat new math classes too. One of the ones that we've got now is math for trades. And I've stopped in there a couple of times and the kids that are in there eat it up. I mean, I walked in one day and they were calculating for concrete pour, how much concrete they need based on volume, based on other things. They're looking at all types of different trades related math. And several of the kids in there were like, okay, this I'll actually use. This is actually going to be part of my life. You know, and so they're really liking that. And the teacher that's doing it has a background in trades, so it just makes it that much better. So he's able to bring in some real world experience with those. So that's been pretty neat. Any other questions about the data?
I'd like to make a personal request. Maybe I'm taking off my school board hat for a minute, but I've been writing questions for the ISATs for 4 years in math. And so I'm extremely familiar with depth of knowledge, which I knew nothing about when I was teaching. So if I could just come in and sit and listen to what the math teachers are talking about. I mean, if you want me to put tape over my mouth and not say anything, I'd like to just listen Because I feel like
Well, honestly, I think one of the things that'd be helpful too, if you can come in and explain to them
yeah,
that process of writing the questions,
Oh,
because the more they understand that, the easier it's gonna be for them to teach that depth of knowledge in the way that it's being evaluated. You know, not teaching the test per se, but teaching to
absolutely.
what the concepts are that are being used. So that'd be a huge resource. I didn't even know you were doing that. That was sneaky.
Well, you gotta do something. I happen to like math. And I've written a few tests in my life, so.
Yeah, let me talk with them, and if you let me know when it's more
You let me know
convenient
whenever
for
you
you.
know, I'll be there.
Appreciate it. And then just in terms of things that are coming up, making more and more refinements with the new social studies curriculum as everyone's getting used to it. Kids are starting to get used to how it operates. Junior high is getting settled into the routine. Seventh graders, they had their first week rude awakening this week of I have to watch my grades. Those actually, those affect whether I can do things or not. So that was kind of a shock to the system for them, and they're getting back on track with that. The madness of homecoming begins next week. So we've got America Monday on Monday, Barbie versus Ken on Tuesday, Rhyme Without Reason. That's a really different one on Wednesday. You pick two different costumes that rhyme, but they have nothing to do with each other whatsoever. That's a whole new one that the kids explained it, and I went, okay, sure. Thursday is Decade Day. Each graduating class has a particular decade that they're going to represent. I think they're trying to get the teachers to do like Revolutionary War time frame or something, because they all think we're old. And then Spirit Day on Friday. The parade for this year we're looking at, and we'll talk a little bit more in the admin meeting about, but I think we're looking at going about 30 minutes earlier with the parade this year. The reason being, then we get everything done, we get the parade taken care of, then we're able to get all the elementary students back over here as a group. They get a little bit more time with their teachers, then they dismiss, because otherwise trying to dismiss from over there is pure chaos. The second thing is we are no longer throwing candy at the parade. That was not a good thing, because little kids like to dart out to try to get candy. And there are moving floats going through and hay racks and all of that. So we're gonna do it a little bit more trick or treat style this year. Kids should have a bag or a bucket or something like that. And the big kids will go up and put it in their bag or bucket rather than lobbing it. So it should be a little more safe going into it that way. We will do coronation on Wednesday as usual, 6 p.m. Then powder puff football and the bonfire. Friday, we will recognize court one more time prior to the game, and then kick off the game itself. Saturday will be the dance, and that'll finish it out. And I know there was a question about CTE licensure. So just in talking about that one, with our career and technical education licensure, a lot of the state now have teachers that go the conditional licensure path first, because they're coming out of a trade or they're coming out of a particular workforce. So the path that goes is they get a conditional license first. Then they move on to their initial license. Once their conditional has been satisfied, then they move on to either the professional or master educator license, depending on if they have a bachelor's or master's degree or whatnot. So like in the case, the one question that I knew you had on that one, there was a person with a conditional, then they moved into the initial license phase now. So that's where we're at with each one. Obviously, Mrs. Birdie is in the master educator area, and she's been doing it for years. Plus, she never has to do license renewal credit anymore, so she's really happy about that. Neither do I. I'm also happy about that. But other than that, that's where we sit with that. And they're always the unique brand, just because construction or FCS, things like that tend to be a little different pathways. So, any questions over any of those?
Is there a place all that's listed I can use that for coordination?
I'm sorry?
Is there a place where all that's listed that I can use for coordination?
Yeah.
I need, who's the grand marshal?
I believe that would be Mrs. Susie Stroping.
Cool. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Jamie. Mrs. Stein has her link there for you to peruse.
I didn't understand any of this. Anybody? We're gonna use AI now? We're already using AI, that's a good thing, that's a bad thing.
Through our collaboration with the Central Rivers AEA, last year we took all of our staff for one of those all-day in-service PDs there. We're gonna do that again. And so we thought that giving them some knowledge and some background about that, because the kids are already gonna be super smart and knowing things about it. So we need to educate our teachers to understand, A, what it is, and potential possibilities for classroom use, application, all of that, but just really kind of building some awareness with that. And they have resources, tools that can enlighten all of us.
There are a lot of really great AI teacher tools.
Yes, yes.
Really
So
neat.
we thought that that would be a piece of the learning that day. So,
So I would say, in my world, the general public, AI is not a good phrase. It sounds like everybody's just copying and spitting stuff in school and it's not even their own work. I think that's the outside impression.
mhm.
What can we as board members do to combat that? Because that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I think for me to answer that, I need to learn more about that, to
Sure.
be honest with you, Joe. So, I mean, that's why I'm kind of like, okay, well, this will be good for my own knowledge
Sure.
as well. So I don't have anything for you to share with, back to the public yet, but I think that through our learning, we'll come back and share some of that, and so that then will help you to, answer those questions.
Could something like that make the newsletter, which is gonna come out in paper version to some people? Yes, sometime. Is it a monthly thing?
Mhm.
Okay.
In fact, she has all of it as of today, so.
Sweet.
Yeah.
An article on that, again, you're reaching people that.
So,
no clue.
and I wouldn't foresee why, if that was something that any of you wanted to participate in with us to go to, that you couldn't, to that day of learning, because it's not gonna just be that. It's gonna be a variety of things, which, helps you to answer some of those questions or have them directed towards us.
Okay, let's talk about a chiller replacement.
So before we get started on this, I spoke with Kim, and wanted to talk on this. So I received a call on Friday from our EMC representative. They're still looking at trying to figure out if this is covered by insurance or not. They now want, Baker Group to come in and tear down the current chiller that we have, but they also want their representative to be there to witness it, to see what's going on. So the EMC guy also told me that as of now, they're gonna be sending us a check for $25,000 because we know that is what's covered. Obviously the bill after this is a lot higher than the 25,000. I would suggest that we hold off on approving this, just know that it's there. And the only reason for that being is not knowing if they're going to, if it's one, gonna be covered, two, if it is covered, if it's going to be, if they will just pay for replacement or if they'll pay to fix it. So I know we need to get it going, but just keep in mind that we still don't know if it's covered. We're supposed to, Baker's supposed to be reaching out to them so they can set up a time between the two to tear it down. So.
Okay, sounds good. So we're moving to number 2 then. Invoice
Do we need
1.
to have a motion to postpone? Since it's.
Thought we moved to
item
table. Yeah,
To table?
yeah.
So I move that we table the approval of the replacement for repair of the chiller.
Thanks, Joe.
Second.
Thanks, Doug. I don't know if we need to vote on a motion to table, so we just will. All in favor of tabling the
So just a
motion?
second on a discussion, isn't discussion before voting?
Yeah, I thought we did.
I don't under, is a chiller an air conditioning unit?
It's what went
It's just
down
a
in
different
July.
name
It's the big unit that went down in July, that we have to then.
outside the cafeteria thing.
Mhm, yep, yep, so. It's called a chiller, but it's like a big air conditioner.
It's a big expensive piece of machine.
Say that again.
We're still renting the replacement, right?
Mhm.
And how much is that a
Yeah.
month?
I think the first month was the big bill, was it not, like 38,000, and after that it was, I saw it on here, it was like 15 or 16,000 a month to rent.
So if we table it another month, we're still gonna get charged. 15 or
Either way, we're going
I
to,
think we're
because it's
already
not
charged
working.
anyway.
I mean, it's not,
Yeah,
the current one is not working, so, I mean,
And my
either way.
fear is that we would have to bring, I mean, it's cool right now, right? But if there was a heat wave, then the whole, it gets humid in here, then we would have to bring in, and so our floors don't get wet and do all of that. So, and I really don't wanna have to do that again, to be honest, because that too was an
Can
expense.
you tell me again what the damage was? I don't remember all those details. Something warped and something fans and something, and, what
So.
the hell did they do in here?
Well, they came, we notified, the company that oversees it, and, someone got back to us in the evening, and, they had readjusted some, I'll call them fuses. Mind me, my terminology is not, on this whole thing, but they redid that, they moved some fuses, it kicked back on, and they said we have to wait 20 minutes to see if it's gonna remain, and then oil shot out the side, and he said it's done. So then our EMC then needed to have what kind of engineer? A mechanical engineer. We could not do anything to that, until they came, and that I thought was, my understanding was, is that was supposed to tell us whether the chiller was just stopped working because of age, because it's the original one, or if there was a mechanical reason why that all happened. But now they're saying they need to bring in
The same gentleman that was here before to tear it down, to
Tear it
actually
down.
get inside, so it's been rather frustrating. There,
Mhm,
it's not a very speedy process, for sure, so.
yeah.
And I know that our EMC guy has been pushing, along with the administration team has been pushing, but doesn't seem to be getting us anywhere, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You ready to vote on tabling? Yeah,
And then,
all in favor of tabling, say aye. Perfect. Okay, now we're on to the invoice from Service Master. Wow.
Insurance company.
and all of this has to do with the chiller,
Mm-hmm.
and then we,
Hence why I don't want to have the risk of things shutting down again. So, yes.
I should have asked this on the chiller question, but do we even have $292,000?
I believe, not right at this moment, we do not, yeah.
Exactly.
We're already at 71,000.
So
That just sounds like the biggest things we've ever talked about.
just pray that it's covered.
Yeah. I got it.
And so this is where, so our current policy, we have the $5,000 deductible, and this is where that 25,000 comes in for the, I'm gonna say almost like a weather warrant, what's the word I'm looking for, like a weather warranty, so like if an extreme fluctuation in temperatures or whatever.
Sure.
So the 25,000 would go towards this, but we still have, so just pray that the other's covered, so then it will cover this too, so.
So we're hoping this service master will be covered.
We're hoping, yes. Right, as of now, we only have $25,000 to cover this. If the EMC or this other underwriting company comes in and decides that, yes, it was a mechanical error that caused the chiller to go down, then that's when they'll decide if they'll replace it or fix it. If they decide it was just due to old age, then no, we would be responsible for the rest of this.
Wow.
So we tabled item 1, right? And we're acting on number 2?
I think this one we have to, because we've already
Okay.
received the service.
Okay.
They've already been in here.
Okay.
But just know we have 25,000 coming towards that.
And is the total 51 out all the pages? Am I reading it right? Reading it right? Or am I reading that wrong too? Is it 51,000 for service master?
No, it's 130.
It's 134.
I'm on the wrong page.
So does this,
So what they did, what Service Master did is they came in and they brought 2 large pieces of equipment. One was outside of the lunchroom and the other one was in the south entrance of the building. And then they put all this tubing, they ran desiccant dehumidifiers, and so that was designed to pull the humidity out to pump in the hot air, which then took the moisture out of, off the floors, carpets, all of those things. So, and it ran for 2-3 weeks.
I'd say probably 3, if not maybe 4.
It was still have,
that equipment is now gone?
yes, all of that equipment is gone.
What do we have maintaining the humidity and the moisture?
So we have the brought in rental of a chiller
Yeah.
that is air conditioning our building, which helps to maintain that humidity.
How much do we pay a month for that rental?
So that was, what was it?
That was
15?
56 up front,
Yeah.
and then we're almost 16,000 a month. And we're already in the second month, so we're
Mhm,
just figuring $71,000 into it now.
mhm.
Which hopefully if it's covered, that should be covered also. So that's why I say, everybody pray that this is covered.
So Stacy, invoice 1, number 2 is different than letter A, right? They're 2 different invoices? Because they're both service master, I think. Yeah, they're both
So
service
number
master.
2, I didn't see the one down.
The second one is the 56,000.
The
Plus
one that says
15,000 a month.
Scope of work, is that what you're
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah.
The one that says scope of work?
We need to approve both, I guess is what I'm asking, number 2
Yep.
and letter A.
Yeah.
It looks like, unless I'm not correct, that 579.50, which was on, which
This
was
is up
on,
to
yeah.
today, or up to 8/31, because I think the first one
Yeah.
was just from the end of July, when
Oh,
it broke to the
correct.
30, or the 1st of August.
Okay.
Summary charges is 7/27 through 8/1.
Mhm.
So what number are we trying to approve?
A really big one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so invoice 1,
Okay.
Under number 2.
under, yeah,
And the figure.
the 134,000.
134,936.
And hopefully this will be reimbursed if it's covered.
I hope
Oh, I see what you're saying. Sorry, Anna, wasn't,
Yeah,
I
no.
wasn't down far enough on the invoices, so.
We're good. Someone like to swallow hard?
No, they did the work.
Make this
They had
motion?
it. I'll, move that we approve, the 134,001.
Thank you, Joe. Is there a second on
Not
that?
to joke.
This is why we raised the pepper.
A second. Thanks, Jackie. Okay, any more discussion on this one?
So Ann, is the 50 included in the 134?
52,000, this first one. Let's get the big range, long low.
Yeah.
And then the next one, I'm looking at it correctly, it says it has a 831.
So I see there's a 50 in there. Is that 50?
There's still on site, full 831.
Okay.
So that's billed this, I'm
So we don't
assuming
have
that's
to
billed
approve
straight
the
to the
50,
month.
because
Well, no, that's
in the
part of it.
134.
I think so.
I think it would be my understanding that it was put into that one. But-
$34,000.
It's a different amount.
Get a bunch of refrigerators.
So this one's for 397. Can't just open the windows, huh?
No, if you.
Open the windows, we'll both-
Grab
the fans, the window, get out some.
Is there any other discussion on this one? Otherwise, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
This one's 51.
With enthusiasm. And opposed?
So go down to 100, go down. So if
So-
130 doesn't help, I just open that. This is a service.
Yes.
Up to date cost, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's separate, Justin. I think so,
It's
because this
separate.
total is 727 through 8/1,
Oh,
and it's 51,728.
Some thousand.
56.
56.
Where this other one up here is for 52,000, so I think they're two separate bills. Kim put these on here, so I guess I should have familiarized myself with them.
That's
This would have been when they first came in, right?
But I think they had to do a bunch of retrofitting to it, and make it work, and
Okay,
Yeah, I guess I would,
And
personally, I would like
I
some clarification
Yeah, I would,
on that
I
one
will
then.
question, I have no problems questioning it, but that's the way I interpret it.
Prove it under the assumption it is separate,
Contingent
Yeah.
on.
and then if it's not
Yeah.
separate.
Yep.
Don't pay it. Is that a motion, Ann?
I think it is.
I think it
If
is.
you wanna make a motion to approve contingent upon it hasn't been paid, then we'll-
I think Justin just said it.
Great, Justin, thank you. Jill, you wanted the second?
I love the second.
Great.
I want to do it and attach to this.
Nope, too late.
200,000 for nothing.
Justin.
I'm behind you all the way though.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, all in favor of paying this one, contingent that, separate,
Separate.
say aye.
Aye.
It doesn't.
And I'll oppose. All right,
Wow.
okay, approval service master cost.
So they just did.
No, that's the next one. Wait, never mind, that's what we just did, sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so now we can go to the PA systems, correct?
Sorry, Chad.
No, Chaz. Please.
That's a hard one to follow, Chad,
Oh,
isn't it?
I know, I don't know that I can top that one, guys. So you may or may not be aware that we're having some issues with our PA at the high school in the new gym. It buzzes pretty badly. I was in there looking at some equipment. If you guys had a chance to read through, I'm not gonna read it for you because you guys know how to read and, you know, that's gonna take a bunch of time, so. The dollar amount I have put on there is basically, I went through and took a look at what we've paid for that stuff, that type of equipment in the past, including the labor to install minus what the speaker cost was, because I'm 95% sure, we'll call it 98% sure our speakers are fine. I'm pretty sure our amplifier's fine, but when I went and looked at the equipment, I noticed there's a bunch of noise on one of the channels in the mixer that's installed, and we have some options to go with on that route that vary in cost between, $1,000 to $4,000 depending on features and bells and whistles, etc. We do have a digital sound processor that is in line in that rack that basically provides feedback suppression and equalization and stuff like that. I know it's a bunch of big words, sorry, it's real jargony. Basically what it does is it helps to eliminate feedback when you're talking to the microphone on the floor, so it just doesn't ring and ring and ring and ring. That has completely failed. The price on those are, I'm guessing the $400 to $700 range. That's before labor for installation, and setup and all that. We did have RW Sound out in the building today. He was actually here before I thought he would be. I am getting a second opinion from another vendor as well, on that. Basically what I'm asking here, guys, is like, will you authorize myself and the administration team to make a decision for the best, what's going to last the longest, basically? Fortunately, that system doesn't need to be really complicated because it just runs like music for games, like for warm-up music and announcements over the microphone. So, we don't necessarily need any super high-end equipment in there. But I do want to make sure that we get something that's gonna have some longevity to it, because that stuff that's in there now is, what, 13 years old maybe? Which in the grand scheme of thing isn't really that old. It's not as old as the stuff we'll talk about later. So I guess that's basically what we're seeking right now, is just that you guys trust us to make the best decision for the school district. Keeping in mind that we need to be fiscally responsible to,
Is this something, Jazz, is there grants out there that would help cover this? Just a question.
not that I'm aware of, no. Fortunately, it would be a PEPAL or safe expense, even though our chiller here is gonna eat into that possibly too. And I know it's a big number. Honestly, I don't expect it to get close to that number.
The 8?
But I wanted to be prepared just in case. So if you guys, if you have questions, I'm happy to address those.
One of the big things that we're looking at too with that is, surge protection, because
Yeah.
anybody who uses Garwin power knows we lose power fairly often, and when it comes back on, it can surge pretty heavily. And it seems like that's what probably happened one of these last storms, where there was a power outage. When it came back, because we hadn't really used it over the summer all that much. And it looks like when it came back, that's when it damaged a couple of those channels that he was talking about, so.
And there
just
is,
basically modernizing it a bit.
yeah, there is a power conditioner on that stack, but I don't know, I can't attest to the quality of what was selected when it was installed. I'm not familiar with the brand personally. I know it doesn't say Furman on it. Furman's about the leader in the industry, or one of the leaders, I guess I should say, but. So I would like to replace the conditioner for sure, with a better unit, and I'm not sure 100%. I put $300 for the cost on that. And I'll make sure that I get a vendor quote on that for sure, but this isn't a quote, this is just my estimate of absolute worst case scenario. We have to replace everything except for the speakers, basically.
I know you wanted to get a second opinion, but the guy that came today, did he have an estimate or? Did
He gave me a little bit of a ballpark. I'm waiting to hear back for sure, just because I know equipment prices have fluctuated quite a bit in the last year or two. And the quote that I was sort of working off of was from 2019 when they did the old gym at the high school. So he ballparked me. I wanted to say it'll be around the $2,000 range. But again, like I said, I want to get that second opinion just so we can make sure we get something in there that's gonna last more than the next 5 years or 6 years. Quality equipment's not inexpensive, so I'd rather spend more upfront to have our total cost of ownership be lower.
So I don't understand any of those techie words. Tell me what it's all used for again?
So we use it mostly for music, like warm-up music for basketball games and volleyball games and any game that happens in that venue. And like starting lineup announcements and for assemblies and
Graduation.
graduation.
The national anthem to actually play the whole time. and
Yeah.
Stop that with.
Yeah. So,
Almost better now. It's just.
Mhm.
Is that connected to the stage as well?
No,
That's two
the
separate.
ones that is in the old gym is a completely
Oh, that
separate
is
system.
separate gym, done.
Yep.
Never mind.
Yep.
Had a brain cramp.
Okay. Does someone wanna make a motion to approve this with like a max budget?
I'll make a motion to approve the fixing the sound system in the downstairs gym. And we hold it to the 8250 max.
Like I said, when I estimated that, that is my, if it goes over, I would be surprised. That is absolute worst case scenario.
I don't want to shortchange it, and I don't want to get junk in
Right,
there either, that we're,
right.
like you said, that we're gonna have to replace it
Right,
in 4 or
yes,
5 years.
I agree, yes.
We'll leave it to your and
Okay.
the administration's discretion
Okay.
to fix it as they see fit.
Penny pinch.
Thanks, Justin. Is there a second on that?
No second.
Thanks, Jill. Any more discussion? Otherwise, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, it's time for
You're up.
policy.
I'd like to discuss the very first one. It's 104. And, there's two numbers I want to discuss. So if you would go to 104 itself, first of all, it says Baxter at the top. I don't know who has the capacity to change that, but it needs to not say Baxter. And then in the area of bullying, harassment, it's certainly one of our many serious issues, but there's some numbers in here that I want to have a group discussion about. So if you're on policy 104, paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, complaints may be filed, that paragraph. So to me, bullying, correct me if I'm wrong, can happen two ways. A teacher sees some bullying going on and they report it. So it's within the building. The second, to me, kind of bullying that can happen is a kid goes home and says, so-and-so said such and such, and I was harassed. So that's like a coming from the outside in complaint. So in that paragraph, it says, to me, when I read this, complaints will be investigated within a reasonable time frame. Within 24 hours of receiving a report that the student may have been a victim of conduct that constitutes bullying and or harassment, the district will notify the parent or guardian of the student. So I'm teaching and I see bullying, harassing, and within 24 hours, I need to notify the parent. So to me, that's within the building process. Am I right? Am I looking at it correctly? To me, that 24 hours is reasonable. We don't want to sit on something forever and ever. Okay, now you gotta go to the next one. The other 104, R1, because there's another number. And this one says, filing a complaint, an individual who believes an individual is what you can read. Second paragraph has a 2 in it. And to me, this is the other kind of bullying. My daughter comes home and says she was harassed on the bus. And this says complaint shall be filed within 2 days of the event giving rise to the complaint and whatever that, or from the date that that could be reasonably aware. This is where I want to have a conversation, because so my daughter comes home and she won't tell me about it for a week. And I can't do anything about it because 2 days have passed. This 2 days seems too short to me. So I went back, I'm so slow. Garwin Community School website, district information, board policies, scroll down to the 100 school district, I did this afternoon because I don't have much to do. And I went to 104R1 there, which is the stated board policy to the public. And this says 180 days, not 2 days.
Mhm.
I'm not comfortable with either number, which is why I'm bringing this up. So a whole year passes and my daughter finally tells me that, that's not a whole year, school year.
Mhm.
The school year passes, so my daughter's harassed on the bus, beginning of her 7th grade years, and she tells me the beginning of her 8th grade year, and I can still go back. To me, that's 180 days is too long, 2 days is too short. That's what I wanted to bring up for discussion.
And I would tend to agree with that because there have been cases, like when I'm looking into a bullying incident in the high school. Sometimes I can get it resolved within a day. I talk to, 3 or 4 students and figure it out. But there have been a couple instances where I've interviewed 17 students to determine what was going on with something. And, it takes that much to figure out, okay, it wasn't just one person, there were 3 people that were directly involved. And that does take more time to effectively do that. And I'd say the biggest thing, like I'll talk to whoever the target was of the bullying and say, okay, I want you to understand, I'm taking this very seriously and I'm really looking at this, but I need you to be patient with me because it takes a while to do this the right way so that I can talk to everybody involved and I can really find out what's going on. As long as they know what's going on, they're usually very good with it. As long as you're communicating with them and letting them know, hey, I care what's going on with you, I'm taking care of this, but this is gonna take us a while. They've been great with that. So I would tend to agree. I don't know that an arbitrary amount of time is necessarily, I would say responding to it within 24 hours would be a reasonable request. But the actual resolution of it, you can't say, well, I can have this resolved within 48 hours because sometimes you can't always get a hold of all the people that you need within that amount of
Yeah.
time, so.
Yeah,
I would agree with that as well.
so am I right in seeing that there were 2 different numbers that represent, so there's we need to make sure that a teacher sees it in the building, they get at it and don't just lollygag around.
Mhm.
But also, somebody outside the building needs to have appropriate amount of time to say, hey, my daughter finally came and told me about this thing on the bus.
Right.
I agree.
So what's a reasonable number to put in there? Or are they 2 circumstances and we should have 2 sentences?
I think this may be one that we might want to take back to the admin meeting and so we can sit down and hash it out and look at it because,
You're the ones dealing with it, so
Yeah,
yeah.
I would
I would
like
agree.
your
Yeah.
recommendation on
Yeah.
clarity on get to it, but also give outside people some time that they found out about something.
Mhm.
But I read the first one is you will notify the parents after 24 hours. Somebody files a complaint, you have to notify parents within 24 hours. That's all that says.
2 days.
It doesn't say it's resolved or it's not. This, once is filed as a complaint, we need to notify a guardian or parent after 24 hours within that time period. And this just says, once a complaint is filed, after 2 days in the event.
I'd like if we can go back and really look at that as an admin
Table
team.
the 104 and the R1
I think that would be wise. So,
and just make that, what's the time frame that's reasonable for you, that you tell us makes sense for you? And it's a serious enough issue that I don't think we should just pass it on through and then look and go, oh my God.
And both of us have recently done bullying training. So there are some things that we'd want to add into this, I think, as part of our investigative process.
Good.
So.
Was there anything else?
No. So, and we, read these two months ago or something like that, and everything else was cosmetic, just
Mhm.
cleaning up terminology, punctuation.
Yep.
So you want table the two 104s?
Yeah.
Table 1 and 2, vote on 3 through 21.
Correct.
Okay, make a motion to table points numbers 1 and 2. Let me roll 4. And approve 3 through 21.
Perfect, thanks, Justin. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Doug. Any more discussion? Otherwise, all in favor, say aye. Aye. And opposed, same. On to commendations. 5 nice ones. Are there any additions?
Can I add, our third and fourth grade MFL, they won, 28-0, on Sunday when they played, and our fifth and sixth grade YSF, they, won 48-25, yesterday as well. So,
Awesome.
we can add those. First, third and fourth.
I would add, I got to see a video of the GMG cheerleaders performing at the ARC, and it was the sweetest, nicest thing ever. Our students did a great job, and she was so proud of themselves.
Could you tell me what ARC is?
It's an old name, it's for adults with special needs. So they had like a football party, like a tailgate kind of thing. And so the girls came out and did cheers, and so some of the adults did cheers with them, and then it was great. It was great.
I've never heard it either.
Yeah. Okay, a motion for those.
It's, so we had the school breakfast, and for me, I think that's always extra effort for the
Oh,
staff
yeah.
to make that extra big breakfast, since that was the day I broke my leg, and I remember it well. Silly me at home. So I thought of that since the last time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think everybody should have to spend a day in the kitchen and try to feed 250 people at a time. Every student and every board member, and every staff member. Because it's amazing. I'm a huge fan of school cooks.
Me too, Joe.
Okay, any other? Motion, would someone like to make a motion to approve those?
I'll make a motion to approve the commendations.
Thanks, Doug.
Second?
Thanks, Jill. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And opposed, same. Mr. Beeler's back.
More money?
Second verse, same as the first, different building. No, we're not gonna talk about money yet.
Yeah.
This is mostly because I want it on your guys' radar that we're looking at it. You know, as long as I've worked here, I've heard things about how that gym sounds, or more accurately, maybe doesn't sound. My semi-professional opinion is that the largest issue we're dealing with in there is actually the acoustics of the room. Especially when we get to like concert season for elementary concerts, like those kids are in the cafeteria with a curtain, and that just sucks up their sound. And it doesn't really escape, so to speak, into the gym. Right now, like one of the vendors, or both of the vendors that we're having look at the system in the high school, I'm going to invite them to come look at this too. And I think I'm gonna invite a third one as well, just because it's good to have options. Like I said, it's mostly a 4-year information type thing on this one. I don't think it will be an inexpensive project by any stretch of the imagination. Acoustic treatment is not cheap, and that room needs a lot. In fact, like I'll invite you to go down. If you're ever in that gym by yourself, just clap once and you can hear it bounce back and forth between the walls. You can do the same thing in all of our gyms, because that's just generally how gyms are. So in my opinion, the most important thing to fix in there is the acoustics. There's things we can do, there's things we can't fix about it, but there's a lot of options out there. one of the companies that I have experience with that's coming to look at it, and will actually bring in measurement equipment. They'll measure the room and then they'll take it back with their engineers and they'll put together some sort of plan to improve things. But I think a lot of our frustrations come from that cafeteria just sucking up sound when kids are up there performing, doing their music thing. And then what little sound does get out, you can't understand what's going on because it just bounces around, goes everywhere, and yeah. So, it's not necessarily, I don't intend to like rush the project per se, especially with all the other expenses we have going on right now. But I did want to get your guys' input on it. I did want you to just know that we are thinking about it, because I'm sure you guys have heard just as almost maybe even more than I have about how just difficult it is to understand what's going on in there. So,
So is the thought process like, so I think about the music room that has I'll call it the sound, like those things that hang down, what's the technical term for those? Like they're great, the sound,
absorption, well,
Yeah.
so
that's not necessarily what we're,
to control sound in any space, we really have two technologies that we can use. The first is absorption, which is like carpet and curtains and so like really thick fiberglass absorbers. The other is refraction. With refraction. And basically that just works on scattering the sound in ideally a more natural way than 4 6 parallel walls or 3 sets of parallel walls. Because that's really where we run into a lot of issues is once we have, like in this room, we have the floor and the ceiling are completely parallel except for in the middle. That helps a lot. But like the walls also parallel, that's what creates that bounce back effect. And when they're hard surfaces, yeah.
Squares?
Yeah, the carpet helps too.
Well, can we just hang some carpet squares in the jet?
That will help with high frequency absorption, but not so much, like anything that's even in human speaking range, probably not.
That's a good idea.
Not sure.
Yeah, it's not a bad DIY, response, but, like I said, I just wanted to be on your guys' radar. We're not looking for any sort of action on it tonight. I just wanted to open it up for your discussion. If you guys had any questions about my thought process or, who we're inviting to look at it, or anything along those lines, just, that's why I'm asked that to just be a discussion item for you guys tonight, so.
There's gotta be some grants for music somewhere, aren't there?
I am not aware of any off the top of my head.
We have a grant writer.
Well, I know, that's what I was
yeah, we
thinking.
can have her research it, so
Yeah.
I can ask her
I feel
if
like
she
there
would
be
research something of
on
that,
there
Right.
that
capacity,
would be able to
so-
cover the sound.
if you're okay with that.
That's fine, yeah.
Yeah.
Marshall, I mean,
Yeah.
And I don't know what we're, so to overcome this until we have an action to do something, how can we better, provide opportunities for our community members to hear during that time? Is that putting, a couple microphones hooked up into our PA system that we have up top, while the kids are singing? Would that potentially help? You know what I'm saying? Like, what can we do temporarily to help with that?
Sure. Some temporary, some microphones possibly could help. Again, like the speakers that are hanging in the gym they're industrial grade, professional grade speakers in there. They are older and they're probably about as old as the building is, I'm guessing. I don't think they're necessarily a bad set of speakers, but.
Well, and typically we use the mobile, sound
Sure,
system, which has the 2 speakers. And so I'm just wondering if we had another, cause there's other plugins and I would have to once again fiddle with that, but
Right.
if we put some up top, would that help with the projection?
I don't think it's a projection, I think it's just that so echoey, like.
Yeah, a large part of
Bouncing
it
everywhere.
is the echo, yeah.
If we put I know we have the curtains, but it won't even matter if we had like the
Right.
riser
Well,
things that you put behind it.
And in our case, I think the curtains are actually part of the problem because they're absorbing that sound before it has a chance to even get out in the gym.
So if we utilize, I know like on behind your risers, you have
The shell.
yeah,
If we
thank
had
you.
like a shell might help, yeah. Shells are expensive though.
Yeah,
Shells
I
travel,
don't ask me
don't
to
they?
quote,
it has
The cost of
shells
those.
travel.
Couldn't they travel across the county line or no?
we don't have shells at the.
Oh, you don't? I
No.
thought you did.
Oh, I thought you
Okay.
did.
No, they
I thought
cut
you
the
did. I
travel
thought you did.
from a different kind.
We have risers. We have
have
risers,
risers.
but we
You
don't
don't
have
have shells
shells.
either, okay.
I thought they did. They did.
did.
Somebody, look under the stage again.
Oh,
They're hiding
we
that.
actually, Mr. Stoney has been under that stage all week and we found some old risers.
Send it back.
But there are no shells. And actually, I saw an invoice for shell, like a really old one when I was cleaning out, the old tech office. And I'm like, where are these? I've never seen these before.
I've never seen it.
I can see it.
Yeah.
I can narrow
Look
it
at
down.
that one.
I'm sure it is.
No, I just think I'm sure we got it. No wonder that's fine.
Thank you.
But let me know if you
Appreciate
guys have any questions. Email me. Yes, Jill?
My night. I just have to make this comment about sound. So for 40 years, I've been coming to plays and musicals on the stage and I can't ever hear the children. And I want to get out there and say, use your loud voice,
Right.
which isn't appropriate. So can they do something? I mean, they're wearing those little things and I still can't hear them.
Yeah, so I know one of the things, our choir teacher's been working on with the students in particular is being able to project better. Yeah, and that's just like, you know how teaching is.
Well, you guys are foolish enough to ask me to substitute in choir and band on occasion.
Hey,
That was foolish.
it's
That's what
fine.
they heard from me. I'm sorry, I'm done.
Okay, monthly newsletter.
All right, this one, we actually had a shift in personnel on who was doing the newsletter. So if you look on the school website right now, under district information, and then district newsletter, I now put that into a folder, and the electronic version of the newsletter is gonna be put in there every month. The September one is currently in there. The new staff member that is handling that is, tomorrow. They just got this part to me today. Tomorrow, they have the hard copies printed out and they have the addresses from the previous staff member to mail those to community members. So, they'll be there, and then they'll also put some hard copies at, the gas station and the library so that they're also accessible that way for those that aren't already on the mailing list. So I know that's been a little bit of back and forth, and now the staff member that has it has more time to be able to devote to it too. So that should be ironed out within the next couple of cycles here.
And we can talk about this at our admin meeting. I know because I don't know who to send anything
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
So the elementary will probably be represented in that one.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Sounds great.
And also just to clarify earlier, because I hadn't been able to talk with student council here lately, our grand marshal will be Mrs. Catherine Kunch this year.
Oh,
sweet.
nice.
Sweet.
Nice.
Who's the sixth girl in your court? Exchange
Oh,
student?
Lily, well, anyway, she's our foreign exchange student,
From
New Zealand.
New Zealand. And staying with,
Duncan.
Andrea?
Yeah.
I'm just avoiding names, so,
I don't know what we can.
Gotcha.
but yeah,
That
Dunkin'
person
Donuts.
is from New Zealand.
Is staying with one of our families.
In district.
I can tell you later.
Any
I
other?
almost made it
I
together.
love that. You did, Joe. You almost made it.
Board member topics, are there any?
So Kim wanted me to bring out, too, that it was noticed that on October 9th, our whole admin team is on vacation that day. So she looked at the week, Jill, I'm sorry. Monday, there are games, so on Monday, the 7th, we have games. Tuesday, the 8th is our fall concert. Wednesday is open. Thursday, Kim is out, and Friday we have games, and it's also senior night. So she wanted to know if we could move the board meeting from the 9th, due to no admin being here. Sorry,
So,
Jill.
but there's something every night that week.
So,
Every night.
yeah, Monday is
Wednesday,
games,
Thursday.
Tuesday is fall concert, Wednesday is nothing, Thursday Kim is out, and then Friday is games, and then it's also senior night that night.
And to clarify, it's not just us on vacation, that's a scheduled vacation day
Mhm.
on the district schedule, so. that was-
Yeah.
She just said admin
It's not like-
schedule.
It's
Or
not like we
admin
said
vacation.
peace, we're out.
Everybody's
That
got
wasn't-
Sorry. She just said admin's on vacation that day, so I was like, okay.
Just.
No.
What about the Monday prior or the?
You're proposing that Wednesday, the 11th, or the 16th? That would your.
What's on the 12th?
Correct. On the 12th is Kim is out that
Oh,
day.
I'm sorry, okay.
So it'd be Wednesday, the 11th.
Correct. Unless we move it to the next week. I don't know, do you guys have the calendar?
David was asking, what about the second? It's still a Monday, not the second Monday. Am I correct? Am I hearing you, David? Is that what you were saying? Like
Well,
the October
she said
2nd?
Wednesday, the 11th, there was nothing scheduled, and
But that's
everybody was.
family night.
What about the 2nd of October, the first Monday? Or third
Do
Monday?
you have a concert that night?
No, I don't.
JV?
I have
I'm looking.
JV volleyball
It's junior high football
session.
and
Oh, I have to help with the conversion. Sorry.
volleyball,
I can give what I have. to give.
that's junior high volleyball.
Oh, no, I can't. I'm supposed to work that.
So I don't see any showstoppers.
Either the
Then-
Monday before or the Monday after?
Yeah. Excuse me.
I have a concessions responsibility, but I can see if I can switch.
For
that.
junior high though.
It's for my son.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, not your school related for my son.
What about the 11th? Who cares? I know it's family night.
They do.
I know that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can do the 11th. That's not an issue. I just knew we were trying
That way.
to.
Yeah. There's a booster meeting that evening too, but
We're the 18th too.
The 11th would probably be better for bills and whatnot, give it a little more time to, if that works for everybody.
October 11th, Wednesday, October 11th. Everybody's checking.
I'm talking about you bringing up the bills of not letting them go like a full week, you know, if we would go the week after,
Oh,
you know. What if we would go back to paying every other week? And have people, you know what I mean, and then the week of, then they would all be on there.
try it again.
I mean, because if we can save money, some pay, if you pay, you could get 5% off, or you're not paying late fees. I mean, it worked for a while. and
Yeah. and
We were
bills
getting
kinda
it, I
fell
mean,
off, Yeah.
there was just 3 people.
Mhm. Yeah, we could try. We'd have to
I mean,
bring that
it's-
policy back up. We could ask Ken, do that policy with the bill committee. We'd have to bring it back and then approve that policy, but yeah, I mean, what do you guys think?
Well, I'd like Stacy's opinion if that would help in any way.
Especially with the transformation that's gonna be going on, or transition that's gonna be going on, I think the person that's doing the bills now would be appreciative of that.
To not have to sit and wait.
Yeah, and I think she would be appreciative. And I think it would probably be good for the transition.
Okay. Well, so we'll have Kim bring that policy back, and then we can, yeah, discuss it. Anything else?
Well, I think it wouldn't hurt for us to remember at every meeting that we have an organizational chart and we are the top. And people not need to skip steps and talk to us. We can be listeners because we're supposed to be listening to the community, but it is not our job to act on. So if we are asking our admin team to follow the chain of command, we need to make sure that we as a board follow the chain of command too, and it's not our job to solve problems at a lower level. I think some of that has been happening, and I think we as a board are part of the problem. That's my opinion, and they're fixable things. We need to remember who we serve and how it's done. And I think we could do a better job. I'm done. I talk too much time. I don't get out much, so kind of nice to. Shut up, Eli. Sorry. It's the 11,
Yeah.
6:30. Garland.
Anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn. No?
A second.
Too late, Jack, you already did.
Oh, yeah, I didn't hear.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sometimes I forget that part.
Opposed? Nay. We're staying here.
Okay. Oh, I wanted to go
You
clap.
need to talk to more people.
I wanted to go clap,
We got
right?
a half an hour before you're gonna get that.